Tom Wolfe was a San Francisco guy. He had a house, he had a wife, he had kids, until he suffered an injury. This is a story we've heard a lot. Got addicted to prescription pain pills, and that spiraled out of control. Before he knew it, he was living on the streets of the infamous Tenderloin district in San Francisco, addicted to heroin, and then addicted to fentanyl, and finding himself in and out of jail.
I actually got charged over time. I was arrested 6 times in a 3-month period.
Wow.
I was charged with 4 felonies and 12 misdemeanors. I went to jail. I actually was held accountable. I sat in county jail for 3 months where I got sober, right? And then an opportunity was offered to me to go to treatment. And, you know, my family by that point was practicing separation with love. They weren't going to help.
Can't blame them.
Right? How can you? I have to own that. And that's what we do in recovery. We own the things that we did in our addiction. And that helps liberate us and helps us be free now in recovery. The only place that would take me was the Salvation Army. They took me. It was a 6-month residential treatment program. I went, and that changed my life because that's really where I found recovery. So when people ask me, what do you attribute your recovery to? I always say, well, it's a combination of being held accountable by the police.
Arrested.
Right, arrested. And actually having an opportunity to go somewhere where they actually cared enough about me to give me an opportunity to recover and actually have a place where I could stay long enough to get my mind right, to start figuring out a plan and building a foundation in my recovery. And also for me, it was finding faith, in which I found there at the Salvation Army too. That really helped a lot. So it was no one thing. And so this is the problem today, right? Is that the harm reductionists don't want law enforcement to be involved in any of this, right? They're just like, they just want to leave you out there to your own devices until you're ready to decide. Well, look, I'll tell you right now, someone that lived on the street and did a lot of terrible stuff on the street, you're never going to be ready. And now with fentanyl, you're never, ever going to be ready. You're just going to die.
Yeah.
That's the irony. And so it's like law enforcement plays a critical role in this and being a mechanism to get people that are committing behaviors as a result of their addiction, i.e. boosting and bipping cars and, stealing. Those are the behaviors that sometimes come with addiction. Not all the time, but sometimes they do. The cops are supposed to be there to hold them accountable. And we as a society, because of policy, have told them to stop and stand down.
Yeah.
And now you literally see the results playing out on our streets.
Had you not had that 3 months forced sobriety in jail, what do you think it would have taken, if it's even possible, for you to have enough clarity to make a choice to go to treatment?
There's nothing.
You think you'd be dead right now?
Absolutely. People ask me that all the time. 100% guarantee you I would be dead.
Yeah. When are politicians going to start listening to stories like people like Tom Wolfe? I mean, Jeannie Burton, who we've had on the show before. I have never met, and by the way, you can watch that full interview right now at undividedpod.com by becoming a subscriber, undividedpod.com, a great conversation. I have never met or interviewed on the show a former drug addict who has said that arresting people won't help. Never. Never. Or who said that going to jail didn't help them. I remember this interview. I've talked about it a couple of times on the show I did with Fox 13 a few years ago. We were doing a story on this guy who had been drug addicted, homeless in downtown Seattle for a while. He'd been arrested a bunch of times, but the final time stuck, and he was able to sober up enough to make a good decision about his life. So we reunited him with the 2 Seattle police officers who had arrested him that final time. And I remember this so vividly. We're standing there, we've got the cameras going with the 2 SPD officers, and in comes this guy like 50 pounds heavier than he was when he was all drugged out, with his newborn baby in his arms and his wife. And it was this wonderful moment of redemption where it's like, had it not been for that arrest and the moment of clarity it gave him behind bars, he wouldn't be standing there. He would probably be dead. Tom Wolfe says the same thing. Jeannie Burton says the same thing. But because of their ideology and what they hate cops and they want to coddle drug abusers, you have some of the progressives who are in charge of these West Coast cities who just will not come to grips with that. I'll give Oregon a little credit. Oregon was even ahead of us on the crazy decriminalized drugs bandwagon, and now they're reeling that back in. Like, I guess we do need to make drugs illegal. We do need to make sure that we're arresting people for this. Because fentanyl, as Tom said, it's a new beast. I mean, it's not new at this point, but it's a different beast. It kills people with ease. And the idea that it's more humane to leave them with a needle in their arm filled with a drug that can so easily kill them than it is for them to go spend a couple days in jail, that's an insane ideology that pushes that. And people like Tom Wolfe, people like Ginny Burton, people like Andrea Suarez, who are out there telling the truth about what's happening on the streets, telling the truth about what it's going to take to get us out of this mess, those are the people who bit by bit, story by story, interview by interview, they're going to make a difference. And so we were just blessed to have Tom on the show. What a cool, cool guy.